Good morning, friends. Once again, welcome to the Impact Funding Summit. Today is the third and the final day of this summit. What an amazing, 3 days, 2 days of conference that we have had. I think incredible speakers who have come in. We had 25 sessions between yesterday and day before, where we had stalwarts, coming and talking about their respective fields. We had master classes from truly the masters of their own areas of expertise. We had some of the mesmerizing fireside chats and engaging panel discussions with the influencers and change makers who are making a huge difference. In fact, it reminds me when I say making a difference, the story many of you would have heard. There was a person who was walking by the seashore on the beach, and there were hundreds of thousand starfishes which were thrown out the sea by the waves, and they were lying there. And there was this one person who was walking, and this person was picking starfish and throwing it in the sea. He was picking another one and he was throwing it. And there was another person who was watching, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" So he said, "I'm, trying to make a difference. I'm, trying to save starfishes." So he said, "How does it matter? There are hundreds of thousand fishes that are lying here, and how does it matter, by what you are doing?" So this person bends down, picks another fish, and throws it back in the sea. And he looks at this person and says, "Hey, I made 100% difference to this one fish." And I think that is what I would say so important, to make that difference, to make that 100% difference to one person in our life. I think one of our speakers, on the first day keynote, there, if I remember correctly, Dr. Nikhil Agarwal, talked about saying, if each one of us just starts contributing 1 rupee a day as Indians, we get over 130 crore rupees collected. And 1 rupee is one thing which I'm sure the poorest of the person who's begging on a street can donate, or can make a difference of that much of a value, not necessarily from a monetary perspective. So in last couple of days, we have learned, from many of people here, how to make a difference, how to make a big impact. In fact, one of the most interesting way that I learned, I would say, in last 2 days about making a difference is making a difference through a story. And yesterday, some of you may be there in the masterclass by Amin Haq, very told, and I heard this story for the first time, a world's shortest story. And the story goes, is it just a 6-word story? So it's on sale, comma, I repeat, on sale, comma, baby shoes, comma, on sale, baby shoes, never worn, full stop. I think this story left me so speechless. In 6 words, one can convey such an important message. So we obviously, are doing so much, and if we are able to tell our stories in the right way, I'm sure it will make a huge impact to the world. Today is a long day, and we have many opportunities to listen to many such stories during the day. Now we have another amazing, storyteller with us, who has an unending quest for making an impact. Dear friends, let's put our hands together and welcome Aakash Sethi, CEO, Quest Alliance. Yeah, please do a e-welcome. I see a lot of hands getting raised.
Thank
Welcome, Akash,
thank you.
and we all are looking forward to listening to your beautiful story. All yours, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I think the opportunity to just share is what I'm grateful for, and I recognize that we all have our own journeys, and we are on a quest. In a sense, we are in the search for something and making a difference, finding meaning, finding purpose. And so I wanted to today really share my journey in doing that, the learnings, the lessons learned, but also what does it mean for a young person in India to thrive. And a thriving life is about making a difference to ourselves and making a difference to others around us. So I'm gonna share that journey. So the request or the invitation is for you to look at this journey from whichever lens you are looking at this from, whether it's a student or a young learner trying to enter the world of work, or someone who is a working professional trying to make sense of how to navigate the 21st century and the changing times, or as someone who's interested in scaling impact in an organization. How do we really design uh, cultures and design people's journeys so that they can really make a difference. uh, so I'm going to share my screen. All right. um, can you see my screen, Captain Anil?
Yeah, I can see.
All right. All right. So I think the idea is to really talk about the idea of a quest from my personal journey lens, as well as the lens of the organization, which is Quest Alliance, and I'm going to try to weave both of these together. Um, Starting with self, because we believe at Quest that the quest starts within. And so, who am I? I am really a young person, I believe, with my own confusions, with my own explorations of different ideas, different identities. Oftentimes, growing up, you're told you have to become this one person. So, you're constantly trying to be that one person, but you're many people in one. And so, in that sense, I'm continuously seeking clarity on my future. I am a facilitator who believes in working with young people and enabling their learning journeys. And I started facilitating as a 17-year-old, which really gave me more control of my own learning journey. I'm someone who plays multiple roles in the family as a son, brother, nephew, grandson, husband, and trying to derive energy from the closest people in my life. And I am also a friend and a peer and a co-traveler who likes to cook, who likes to observe nature, who is a connector of people, and is believes in grew up playing a lot of sport and coaching and exploring different forms of play. Um, I am also a learning network weaver, which is trying to really build a community of people who can learn and grow together. And that my work has revolved a lot around youth development and education technology innovations, as well as really being what I'd like to call a Jagrik, which is an active, aware Nagrik. So someone who really takes takes active citizenship seriously. And so I think if we look at any young person's journey in navigating their lives, they are really trying to make sense of their learning ecosystem, their own parents, the different peer groups, the work environments. A learning ecosystem really comprises of all these different influences, as well as the learner who is at the center, facilitators who are really trying to change the lives of learners, as well as learning institutions who are providing learners with the learning environment to really thrive, to really grow, and the community, the engaged community of people who can support this journey. And a young learner has to make sense of their lives really by making connections and building relationships, having a self-awareness, as well as solving problems that they face in everyday lives, as well as sharing their story with others to continuously grow and learn. That's really the idea that we believe in, that a learner can drive their own learning journey as long as they can make meaning of through these relationships, etc. Therefore, we believe that we really need to create a learning space, and the learning space is an environment that allows young people to grow in the four spaces of family, friends, school, work, community. So the creation of a learning space is really at the heart of what we do, is to create that enabling environment for young people to grow. And that is those spaces are shrinking right now, and young people are not succeeding right now, and that is because they are learning mostly to pass exams. This is a photograph from a school in Bihar, where parents are climbing up the wall to share the answers to a question paper, and this whole focus on assessment-based systems is so much failing our people, that we've almost created a factory model of learning, a factory model of education, where different people are entering the system, but the ones who are coming out all look the same. And so the learning spaces that really need to create diversity and create inclusive ideas does not really exist. We are in the industrial age of learning, and we know that technology and automation is coming. Robots are replacing and taking away human jobs, and therefore the next few years is really going to be, how do humans and machines coexist, and how do they learn to work together. And really the shift really that needs to take place in order to do that is that when we were growing up, we had to be know-it-alls, who had to pass exams and repeat things, whatever they have read. Now the shift is going to be to really from know-it-all to self-learn-it-all, because of the fast changing nature of work and fast changing environment. We are seeing that self-learning and letting go of your ego, from saying this is how much I passed in exams, these are the marks I got, to these are the ways I learned, upskilled myself, and influenced other people, is going to be the measure of success in a sense. So given that this is going to be key, the role of what is the role of learning ecosystems? What are the role of the education system? is really to hold the being and the doing of individuals, of learners. I was being a young person, an entrepreneur, a son, brother, nephew. I'm being an observer. I'm being a citizen, and I'm also doing things. I'm playing. I'm cooking. I'm traveling. I'm exploring. Uh, and this being and doing, which oftentimes are conflicted for young people, because they want to be something but they end up doing something else. And at the heart of this tension of being who I truly am, my real self, my authentic self, and doing things that I really enjoy. The core of that is really how vulnerable, or the vulnerability in me. How am I able to really hold failure? How am I able to accept failure? How am I able to let go of the ego that oftentimes binds us, to be able to really be who I really am. And I think this is really the core of what we believe is the future of the 21st century. uh, is to hold these very different sides of ourselves, be multiple different, express multiple different emotions, ideas, be different things, in terms of even jobs, keep upskilling, changing jobs. So being and doing is really critical, and balancing that. And therefore, we believe that young people growing up in India need to really learn 21st century skills. These are skills on self awareness, problem solving, being able to tell stories, communicate, be able to make sense of all the information on careers, on different opportunities, as well as learn to plan your career path, learn in a digital world. So these, we believe, are the future of the 21st century for a young person to succeed. And therefore, coming to who we are, who Quest is, and what do we really try to do. It is a 15-year-old non-profit organization. We are really here to develop young people as self-learners. Um, so that they can really thrive in and have a strong social and economic empowerment. They have more agency to make choices. They have more agency to find what they want to find. We do this by working with various transforming learning ecosystems. And these learning ecosystems could be schools, secondary schools, ITIs, vocational training institutes. And we've over the last 15 years worked with around 1 million children in 3,000 government schools. We've worked with 200,000 girls in secondary schools, to look at equipping them with career planning skills. We work with 300,000 young people in 400 industrial training institutes, and around 50,000 young people in vocational training centers, and all of this with really a vision for them to take more control of their learning, to get better jobs, so placement rates, increasing placement rates, young girls negotiating choices of early marriage or of continuing education. We have seen impact in increase in income of some of these young people, as well as people who have been able to really become educators and teachers as well. So who've started giving back. And we do this in partnership with various state governments. So we work across about 12 different state governments in partnership to really work with the system. So we don't really run our own schools or training centers. We partner with the government, strengthen their existing learning ecosystems, and we do that partnership also with NGOs. So not just with governments, but also NGOs, almost 50 different NGOs we work with. And we have a two-pronged approach to really transforming a learning ecosystem. The first is really what we call the master coach approach, which is for facilitators, for teachers who can learn to facilitate and really learn to drive a new learning environment for the 21st century in schools. So we train a lot of these facilitators or teachers to become 21st century educators who can be comfortable in the digital world, produce content, and manage virtual learning. A lot of almost 40,000 educators have sort of been reached and transformed into 21st century educators. Um, the second approach we have, or the model we have, is really based on education technology, where our digital platform, Quest app, has around 250 hours of digital content, self-learning content that reaches almost 100,000 learners every year, to engage them in upskilling, reskilling, make them plan their learning journeys, and provide customized career content to really learn the skills to get jobs. So this also has a job matching or a job gateway, which allows young people to learn to get jobs. So these two have been really our major tools or products to really transform learning ecosystems, where our goal in the next 5 years is to reach 4 million learners with 21st century skills, ensure 40% of those learners are women, look at reaching at least 1 million young girls out of the total 4 million, because we believe that really till we don't change the gender norms in society, it's going to be really hard to make change, long-lasting change in the country. And we are looking to actively do this through what we call our butterfly effect. And so it's really four things that make this transformation. The first is deep partnerships, deep collaborations with NGOs, with state governments, with funding agencies. The second is really taking a systems change approach to building capacity of teachers, of principals and school leaders. And the third is really understanding the effectiveness of what is working, what is not working, doing research, creating platforms for sharing amongst people. And the fourth is really education technology, really creating alternate learning models through edtech solutions, so that we can, this combination is what we feel will transform a learning ecosystem in a meaningful way. This is deep sort of state governments relationships that we have, as well as relationships with the Ministry of Skills, Ministry of Human Resource Development, to take this four-pronged approach. And at the heart of this is, how do we grow and change as an organization? So as we are scaling from going to the early stages of working in 10 schools or 20 schools to working in 2,000 schools, the heart of that is really change and being change ready, or continuously investing time in growth and change management. That is fundamental to our scaling journey. And I'll talk a little more about that what really makes us scale ready. How do we really scale impact is is really by being who we are, being that individual and having the space to learn in. So this is the team at Quest Alliance that really has over the last 12 years grown together and learned together. And what really drives this team are a set of values, and maybe I'll show you a short video here. If I can request the team to play the video of how the team works. Do we? Can I have the video, please, Ritu? Yes.
Hello.
I wanted.
Hi, friends. I think due to connection, for a few seconds, we have lost Aakash.
My name is Oscar and I'm from Guwahati.
NSTI Bombay.
In Hyderabad నుంచి వచ్చాను.
Patna se hu.
From Delhi team.
NSTI Trivandrum.
I'm working in Bangalore team.
From Tamil Nadu.
The idea of why we are here is to really experience that pausing so that we are finding that rhythm or re-harmonizing. This is the place where the values come alive.
I came to the annual meet with a purpose. I wanted to know what kind of an organization I'm working with. I wanted to know how much we practice what we preach. I came to understand that there is space for me to question, there is space for exploring and new learnings.
इन 4 दिनों में मैंने इतना कुछ सीखा है कि आगे जाके मैं उसको इतना एक्सप्लोर करूँगी, लाइक स्टूडेंट्स के सामने, अपने लाइफ में, रियल लाइफ में.
I think it's very important for me to give faces to my teammates, and this is where the retreat is most helpful for me. So that I'm able to see faces, meet people, that helps me build better relationships and deeper relationships.
ஸோ நாங்கள் இங்கே எல்லாருமே ஒரு 4 days ஆனுவல் மீட்டுக்காக வந்திருக்கோம். அண்ட் இந்த ஆனுவல் மீட்டில் என்னோட மிகப்பெரிய லேர்னிங் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா டேக்கிங் பாஸ். இட்ஸ் ஆல்வேஸ் பெட்டர் டு டேக் அ பாஸ் டு மேக் இட் சக்ஸஸ்ஃபுல்.
Being recognized is an awesome feeling. It's something which you do every day and you do it best, and you feel good that you are recognized for this.
It's really about reconnection. जब हमें reconnect करना है तो it is about unlearning and it is about relearning. Go on this journey and listen from the heart. Speak from the heart. Be curious.
All right. Just wanted to get back my. I'm not allowed to share my screen anymore. Okay, got it. Got it. Yeah, I wanted to take that as an example to really talk about really building values and really creating a space for some of the values to also come alive, for values to be practiced. And I think oftentimes in our journeys of doing and trying to figure out the strategy and all the things that are more the logical side of our heads, we tend to forget the being. And it is, I think, equally important to look at creating learning spaces within organizations so that people can experience the values, people can experience the being, and also find one's own sort of authentic values. And I think that's been a critical piece for our growth, is really for people to take ownership of the organization. Almost more and more people who drive change in the organizations are people who are leaders, who not necessarily are the senior leaders, but people also who are on the front line. So being able to create that space for regularly changing and people taking more ownership has been key to our success. These are various milestones of our journey to drive change and work with people who continuously talk about change. Um, this is sort of a journey of our people growth, where from 81 people to 180 people in the 4 years, where we have grown yet retained almost 20% or more people staying for more than 5 years. So really scaling the culture is as important as scaling the product or the program. And there is a framework that we have been able to create to do this, where we recognize stories of our staff, of our people, of living the values, of making sure more people can make decisions in the organization, to ensure that there are a certain value-based thinking that we can create, and give what we practice outside, practice inside as well, which means we invest heavily in people's own growth and development, their learning journeys, making sure women, almost 60% women, are part of our senior leadership team, which really creates a certain environment in decision making, as well as investing Quest's own resources into people development. So I think that is really the heart of how to grow is to develop people. Um, and I think while doing that, there is a lot of knowledge that we are creating. There's a lot of knowledge we are building. So how do we really document this knowledge? How do we document the experiences? So investing in documentation and knowledge creation with a certain perspective of what we are learning around gender, in our case about 21st century skills and systems thinking. So creating that culture of documenting and sharing is another essential part to growing and being who we can be. And so coming to the doing part, that while there is a being approach to impact requires doing. And the doing is really, in our case, taking an ecosystem approach. So while we work with learners, educators, we partner with uh, almost 50, 70 different types of entities, which is a mix of funders, NGOs, governments, to enable scale, to have a shared vision with them, to also create a network of these influencers as well, so that they can really take the agenda of self-learning for 21st century skills forward. And the doing part is really building culture, systems, and leadership to scale impact. And really the cornerstone has been technology-based approaches. So invest in it tech, invest in it as a continuous process, and this is our journey that we've had in investing in that. And finally, I think it's the funding and being able to build a funding pipeline and grow in building funder relationships. I think is a critical part of any role to scale, and I think that's something where we have grown from 3 to 4 funders to 18 funders, from an initial capital of about 70 lakhs to about 52 crores in donations, in grants, and being able to do this with some of the most sort of innovative companies across the country, and foundations, and that really has been a cornerstone to building something, and I think building that culture where it's not just 1 or 2 people who do fundraising. It's a range of different people. Everyone plays a role in building funder relationships, managing them. So there is a big role in culture building with respect to fundraising inside organizations. Otherwise, it ends up becoming only a few people's job, and that can really create a different kind of tension, which may not be very successful. So yeah, I think that's in summary the journey. Just wanted to leave you with the sculpture of the self-made man, where we believe that there is a right to choice and self-determination, and to learn to build one's own unique identity is really the core belief that individuals' history and life experiences that are both painful and joyous are both sacrosanct, and being okay with learning from failure, being vulnerable, is as important as celebrating the successes and joys of being. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you, Aakash. I think yes, slightly from a time perspective, another just 4-5 minutes. But I've requested organizers to see if we can take few questions. Maybe if you can just close the screen share.
Yes, I have.
I think now we are. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So first of all, really thank you. I think you have taken through your own incredible journey, as well as Quest journey, and especially talking about how really you go about what's the 2-pronged approach that you talked, these 4 pillars that you talked in the end. Without taking too much of a time, I think it'll be good if we can get some of the questions. Audience can raise hand. So there is a raise hand button on right hand side. I think it will be available only to people who are on laptop. I don't know whether on phone it is available. If not, then we'll ask your question. Otherwise, the audience can come here and talk to Aakash and ask your question directly. Our host will try, and if any hands are raised, host, if you can just bring the person in, please. Otherwise, I'll ask the question from what people have put here. Okay, till the time let me ask. There's a question from Devi Das, CEO Potential Infinity. So he has 2 questions. One question is, how do you deal with this social upbringing because of social inequalities and prejudices? So how do you deal with that as an aspect? Second question is, how much focus should one have on the short-term livelihood side of it, and building a long-term career and transformation? So 2 questions, Aakash.
Sure. So the second one first, I think the idea of a livelihood is really linked to holistic well-being. It's not just about a job, but it's about relationships I have with my community, with my family, with my friends, how much at peace I am while looking at how to make.
Just interjecting, Debbie has raised
Yes.
hand. You can bring him host. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Do you want me to do that?
yeah, he's here. I think Debbie is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Aakash, thank you for a lovely presentation. And my first question was about the being state you said, right? So basically, the person is a product of the social conditioning and the social environment ecosystem. So therefore, how much do you work on that when you are talking about it, 21st century skills? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second one, as I said, but how much it is for? Because I hear a lot of this agencies and organizations working for skilling people, right? And including government pushing for it. So how much it is just to give skills so that he can make a livelihood for himself versus how much he really grow up as a holistic person to look at a future, transformation, which is way beyond his own imagination of his own capabilities.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a fundamental struggle in most skill development programs right now, that the focus is a lot on technical skills, technical traits, and really the being and who this person is forgotten in that journey. So our role, I think, is to really make sure that we become advocates and activists for this, and the social conditioning piece, right? So from an ecosystem perspective, parents are a key influencer, and any skills program that does not really change mindsets of parents or change mindsets of communities is not going to be successful, because the key influencer in that learning ecosystem is the parent. And we need to design, so in our case, we have campaigns to reach out to parents through phone-based interactive voice response systems, through parent engagement days that are held at various schools, and creating other ways where parents can get more involved in their homes to have discussions on their career and their thinking process. So we recognize that without that, that's not going to happen. So yeah, I think that's a quick response. I guess there can be a longer conversation.
We can certainly take offline. Thank you, Devi, for your one interesting question here. Another question is from Ashish Dongre. Ashish, head of global data with Tech Mahindra. What would you suggest for the rural people to contribute, and how can they work towards upliftment of villages without an umbrella organization like yours? So again, I think it's your sculpture that you talked of, self-made man. So self-made village, I think that's what Ashish is trying to ask. What would you suggest? Ashish has not raised the hand, so I think can't bring him on board. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a challenge. I mean, migration is a reality that we have seen in the past, that there is a significant high amount of migration. Jobs in rural areas are few and far between. The aspirations of young people in rural areas are largely towards building government job pathways, or the military army pathway, or the bank job pathway. So apart from these three, there is very little that a young person in a rural India also aspires for, and as a result ends up spending 7, 8, 9 years trying to just crack one of these three paths. Now, I think the important shift is for us to recognize as a society, and even in small ways, if we can spread that awareness about, career exploration. Different job opportunities may not be there in these so-called secure jobs, but entrepreneurship, starting your own jobs, work is an option. Learning through digital platforms and start being part of supply chains in these digital platforms is an option. So really see if we as rural citizens can, one, promote this idea of changing the mindset around what kind of jobs are the right ones and what are wrong ones, and encourage more exploration at a young age in schools. So go, if you are a rural, you are someone who wants to help, go to rural schools and talk about career options, career explorations that young people can do, and open more paths for young people to try and succeed in those.
Thank you. Thank you, Aakash. We have a few, I'll just quickly read out. So there is one which says, how and where can we get funding initiative? I think this whole summit, we're talking a lot about it, so we'll skip that for the time being. There are few people who have asked for your contact details. I think we'll try and collect again, offline on that. There's a question, do you give training to other NGO people? And another question is, how can we tie up with adult education? So do you give training to other I did hear you say there's a partnership, so that answer I think was there in the presentation.
We run different kinds of training programs for leaders from NGOs. We run an emerging leaders program, so where we share our framework of scale and impact with other NGOs who are at an early stage to also learn and grow their organizations. So we have that as an offering. We also can work with you to train, to bring digital technology to your training centers and vocational training programs, schools, etc.
Wonderful. I think that also answers, because someone else has asked, how can we tie up for adult education? So I think there's a lot of interest, and Meraklis platform itself, the idea is to try and bring different stakeholders, make it easier. I think already you guys, I think there's a lot of work that is being done, but maybe some ease that we try and bring. So we will try and help on that. So I think we are already a few minutes over, a couple of minutes over our time. So in the end, once again, I'll say, Aakash, thank you for taking us through this journey. You've got insights in terms of how you can really scale both from the impact that we all have a deep desire to make that impact and do it at scale. I think from both point of view, I just in the morning came across two messages. So I'll just speak about those. So one message where it said, व्यक्ति आपके पास तीन चीजों के लिए आता है, भाव, अभाव या प्रभाव. So bhav is the emotion, or these, when a person comes with for emotional needs, so you give that person love. Second, if a person comes in abhav, that means scarcity in some sort of a need, then you help that person. And if a person comes to us because of our prabhav, so because of our influence, and I think then we should feel blessed that we are in a position that we are able to make an impact, make a difference. And I believe this entire audience has come in here who wants to really make that prabhav, make that impact, and make a difference to people's life. There's another small poem, and I think it fits you. So निराशा में छुपी है आशा, अब न रोके हमें कोई बाधा. निराशा में छुपी है आशा, अब न रोके हमें कोई बाधा. कूच करो अब पंख पसारे, अनंत नभ के छोर पे जाओ. कूच करो अब पंख पसारे, अनंत नभ के छोर पे जाओ. एक नया आकाश बनाओ. So एक नया आकाश बनाओ. So I think, Aakash, if you can make few more Aakashes like you, out of this summit, I think our job is done. You and Quest is doing a great job. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good day, and Audience, we have great sessions lined up. Please stay with us till the evening, and let's learn together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.